Hi, this is Joy Robertson. As many of you know, I love food. I love finding new restaurants. I love trying new dishes. And most of all, I love talking to the many great restaurateurs and entrepreneurs we have here in the Ozarks and beyond. I love hearing their stories, and that's what this podcast is all about, learning more about them and their journey. So join me as we savor the Ozarks. This episode is brought to you by Arctic Food Equipment. So a little over a week ago, a girlfriend from Arkansas and some of her work colleagues from out of town were coming to Springfield, and they said, we want to go eat somewhere that is great food, great atmosphere. Think fusion, think food like that. And I said, girl, I've got you. And we went to Ocean Zen, and it never disappoints. The man behind it is sitting right here, Johnson Tan. I'll tell you, when you say the word sea bass in this town, in this region, I think you think Ocean Zen. Am I right? Let's back up and talk a little bit about this place. Okay. When did you start?
We opened in 2004. I think around October of 2004.
It's been that long?
Yeah, it's been 20 years almost. So yeah.
Okay, here's my other question. Where was your first location?
Our first location was on Glenstone, where the old Five Spice was before.
Okay, someone told me that not long ago, and I've been here for 20-some years, close to 30, and I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because I remember it being on Battlefield, yeah. Correct?
So we started off at a really small restaurant that only sat 100 people, on Glenstone. Didn't know how Springfield would take our food, because, 20 years ago we didn't know how much seafood people ate here, and, stuff like rare ahi tuna that we served, and, we were just curious, and, to start with a small restaurant and then make it to this big restaurant is like, it's a journey, it was just difficult through the way, but now we have the banquet rooms, we have the capacity, and we can do almost anything, weddings, corporate caterings, whatever, so we're pretty big, like size-wise. So
this is a very big location. Mm-hmm. So it's you and your brother started this, correct?
Yeah, my brother John Tan. Yeah, we started this back in 2004. John was he had been managing at various different restaurants, and then he has the hospitality management degree from back at SMSU, and then I did the culinary in Scottsdale, Arizona, the Cordon Bleu. So that's where I got my degree. So.
I'll be honest, I didn't know that about you. Very, very interesting. No wonder you're good at this. So you grew up in Springfield.
I did. I was born and raised in Springfield. My family, my dad and mom had a restaurant called Happy Family. When we were growing up, it was on Campbell Street, where Amigos is now. And I grew up in the restaurant business. And then when I was about, I think, 13 or 14, my dad ventured to do Buckingham's barbecue with Dave Campbell. And my dad had a Buckingham's for about 10 years. So, just grew up in the restaurant business with the family. So,
okay, now I'm starting to see the fusion come into play here, because you've kind of got the barbecue going on over here, and then you had the Chinese restaurant. Yep. And now your dad, or maybe your mom and dad, from Taiwan? Yeah,
they're from Taiwan. They migrated here, I think, in the late 70s. So, yeah, it was a journey for them too, all the way from Taiwan to Springfield, Missouri. So
that'd be an interesting conversation in itself. I always love to hear how people got here. But you grew up with that sort of food, so yeah. You knew how to cook that, or you wanted to know really how to do it even better, but you always had an affinity for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, when I was growing up, we cooked a lot of Chinese food, obviously Springfield-style cashew chicken, General Chicken were really big, in the restaurant. And I think around the 90s, when I was in high school, the late 90s, there was a type of food that was starting to come up, and it was called fusion. It's kind of like East meets West, Pacific Rim, and one of the founding fathers was Roy Yamaguchi. And he had a bunch of restaurants, I think 30-something locations around the United States and Tokyo, Hawaii. And I always wanted to work for him. So when I went to culinary school, I started working for him in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it was great. So, yeah.
Okay, I really admire that because you knew what you wanted and you went after it. Are there restaurant names we would recognize?
Yeah, I mean, I work for Roy Yamaguchi at Roy's. They're very popular now in Hawaii. There's various locations. Just fusion food, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, fused with French techniques, French sauces. I also work for Nobu. Yeah. So that was really, really intense kitchen to work for. So
these kitchens, they are intense. I'm almost addicted to Chef's Table on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I could get so lost in that, and I do for hours at a time. I absolutely love it. You went to high school here, and at what point did you decide culinary school? And how did you pick Le Cordon Bleu?
Well, I was actually, trying to decide. I went to SMSU for 1 year, and I didn't really like it. And then I wanted to do like more culinary, so I just kind of picked Scottsdale, Arizona, because I had some friends going to ASU that I went to high school with. So we just journeyed out there and started the way. So
was culinary school hard? Was it easy for you? But it's intense.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. You just gotta. For me, it was a little bit easier because I had been working in the restaurant industry since I was, 8 years old, so it was kind of easier for me, but it was some classes were pretty intense, but you just have to learn, you learn the techniques, the basic fundamentals before you go out in the field and, do what you want to do. So
when you decided you wanted to work for this chef, how did you approach that to get that job?
So I remember I went in after school one day. It was like the first week of school. And I just went in with my chef coat, and I went in and I talked to the executive chef of Roy's, and it was Pacifico Mata. And he's actually still a really good friend and mentor of mine. At that time, I was, 19 years old. I was just a young kid. I went in there and I was like, hey, I want to work here. And he's like, oh, really? And I, told him my background. And he was like, okay, let's get you started, And so I started working for him. And
while you were in school?
Yeah, I was working. I moved up really quick. And then I was working about 40 to 50 hours a week while I was in school, yeah. So I would be the one to make sauces every morning. So if I had night classes, class would start from 5 to 11 o'clock. And then I would work from like 5 a.m. to, almost 4 p.m. and then go to school. So, yeah, it was intense.
Oh, my goodness, you're driven. So you literally, after the first little bit of school, walked through the door of the place you wanted to be, and then you get to meet and work alongside Roy Yamaguchi.
Yeah. So Roy would come in once, maybe every quarterly. We would see him because he had a bunch of restaurants. But Pacifico was the executive chef there, and he had been with Roy since he was 18 years old. So he's been there for a while too. So, but he taught me a lot, about food, about presentation. Because before that, I had only had training in Chinese food and barbecue, and we'd never. Growing up, we never, ate a lot of steaks. We never ate a lot of ribeyes or, sea bass. Like, that stuff just wasn't around, you know what I mean, for us to have back then. But when I started training and working at Roy's, I started working with, fresh ahi tuna, started working with Chilean sea bass, swordfish, just everything, fillets, ribeyes, lamb chops. So
he did fusion. But did you start really sort of seeing ways to even do it better or do different things? I'm sure you did.
Of course. So that's when I started, doing a lot of things I learned when I was a kid with my dad. My dad was a Chinese chef. We did, a lot of Chinese dishes fused with some French techniques, stuff like that. And it's always a hit because people like Chinese food,
Well, heaven knows we love it here in the Ozarks. We've got lots to pick from. How long were you there? I mean, how long were you in Scottsdale? I'm sure it was a great experience, but did you linger a little bit longer because of the job?
Yeah, I stayed there for about four and a half years. when I was there, yeah. And then I moved back around 2022, around there. So I
Not 2022.
No.
2000.
Oh, two. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Well, I'd be pretty young back then.
Yeah.
But anyways, about 4.5 years we stayed out there. I stayed out there, so.
Did you know when you went to Scottsdale, did you know that you were going to come back to the Ozarks eventually?
Yeah, I had a feeling that I was, going to do a restaurant in Springfield. That's why I went out and learned a lot. I didn't know I was going to come back to Springfield, but, just having conversations with my dad on the phone, he was like, hey, let's get that restaurant going where I have that location on Glenstone, the original location. So that's why we started that.
So your dad, your parents encouraged you, let's do this together. So you opened the doors on Glenstone and in the place that's much smaller, but still a great space. What was the reception to begin with?
So in the beginning, I was really worried. Me and my brother John, we were like, oh, wow. When we opened, it was kind of slow because we didn't do much marketing or advertising. So I think around the first 2-3 weeks, we weren't doing very much in sales. People weren't, coming in. But then after the third week, people just started coming in, flooding the restaurant. I mean, we were just packed every day. People were coming in, and they really loved the food, and it was something different for Springfield,
Well, and back then, I mean, I don't remember when social media really took hold, but there wasn't anything like that to put your word out, so it must have been word of mouth.
Yeah, it was a lot of word of mouth, just, telling people what we were doing, and then people just started catching on. So it was pretty interesting.
What was the one dish they were all clamoring for? Was there one, or was it?
So we had the Chilean Sea Bass, pan-seared Chilean Sea Bass was a big hit. We had a halibut dish was a big hit, and then our chicken breast, our grilled chicken breast with California roll, tempura California roll was a hit. It's still on our menu right now after 20 years. And then our Mongolian glazed ribeye was what people liked a lot too. So it was, all three of them were good hits.
So how long were you at the Glenstone location?
We were there, I think, about 3-4 years, three years maybe. And then we moved over to the Battlefield location where the old Tony Roma's was. Mm-hmm. And that was just a bigger location. I mean, it sat about 200 people. So the volume was definitely more when we opened there. It was a lot busier. So.
Well, that's a good sign, to be a little bit nervous at the beginning, then see the crowd start to really come in, and then say, we're going to outgrow this location. Yes. So you move over to Battlefield, which it seems like you were there, I don't know, several years? Yeah,
I think we were there about 6 or 7 years. We were there, and then we moved over to the old Mystery Inn's location where we're at right now on 4117 South National. After the 7 years we were there, so.
Well, and I would imagine this building appealed to you because it's a big building. You can seat a lot of people, and it's beautiful with the koi fish and everything out front. And I remember coming here for Mystery Inn's, and I remember when you moved in here thinking, wow, that is a big location. How many do you seat in here now? We probably seat around 350. Our banquet room, the reason why I chose this location was because it had a banquet room that set up to 200 people. And we can break our wall partitions, we can break them up into 3 rooms and have private, we can have a 50 top here, a 70 top here, and a 30 top here. So just pretty much for the banquet room space and then the bigger dining room. So I've been to a couple of events here, banquets. I believe it was here that our daughter had a little sweet 16. Oh, she brought we brought some friends in. I believe it was her 16th, and they just love sushi, and you guys were fabulous. So let's talk about this restaurant. You've had customers that have followed you from the original one. Oh yeah, we've had customers that followed us for about 20 years, and some of them just still love the place and frequently dine. So you see their kids grow up and their grandkids grow up as you're serving them food. So Well, sure. I mean, after all those years, you saw little babies at the table at the old location on Glenstone, and now you're celebrating their college graduations.
Yeah, college graduations. I always tell, my customers, I was like, train them when they're young, so I love seeing kids come in here, kids that, are adventurous, that eat sushi when they're young, and then when they grow up, they still eat here, so.
There's nothing I like better than an adventurous eating kid. Our kids will eat anything. And I'm so grateful for that because some of their friends just won't. It's chicken fingers and mac and cheese or nothing. And I mean, they're in their 20s. And nothing against you. Do you, everybody. But I think you miss out on a lot of life if you're not willing to try things.
Step into Arctic Food Equipment, where the spirit of American hospitality meets unmatched quality. Our Springfield showroom is open to the public and stocked with everything you need to outfit your kitchen. For over 25 years, we've been proud to serve our community with products built to last and a commitment rooted in American values. Come visit our showroom today and discover why kitchens across America trust Arctic Food Equipment. The tools you trust, the partner you deserve.
How has your menu evolved over the years?
So our menu is still the Pacific Rim. We do a lot of East meets West. As we go further in, we try and infuse some new techniques and different sauces and different, proteins. But, it evolves around just, a lot better steaks, better seafood, and just sushi. And we just want to make it, just perfect for everyone when they come in. So
I know that some of the favorite dishes remain the Chilean Sea Bass, which is what I had the other night. Fantastic. Did you do it the same way originally? Did you have the puff pastry and the whole 9 yards?
So the puff pastry we started that probably 10 years ago. Well, maybe 15 at the Battlefield location. Originally, the sea bass was crab crusted. We had like a panko Parmesan crab crust on it. But then I thought of the cheesy seafood puff pastry, and man, that was a hit. Everyone liked it, so it's been the same for about 15 years.
Okay, it's a little purse of...
Yeah, it looks like a little beggar's purse or a little, just like a dumpling, wrapped with, it's got bay scallops, it's got shrimp, it's got 4 different cheeses, garlic, spinach. It's pretty good.
I can imagine some people would probably order that dish just for that. Does anybody ever ask for that? Because I just have one of those, or can you sell me one?
We actually sell a lot of those. You can get one on the side. I think it's only $8 for one, so people order it on the side.
I want to tell you too. We had so much food. I took, of course, leftovers home, and a few days later, I fire it up, the sea bass. I just heat it a little bit in the microwave, and about half of that little beggar's purse was still there. It was just as delicious without the atmosphere. It was just as delicious as it was the first night that I had it. You did some remodeling on this restaurant.
Yes.
A lot of remodeling. It looks amazing. Where did you get your inspiration for that?
So me and my brother John, we both had ideas for the restaurant, and then we had an interior designer come in and help us. And we pretty much gutted the whole building out and then just remodeled from floor to ceiling. So it was completely hollowed out. Before it was, Mr. Yen's had a lot of like small rooms, different areas, and they had a riser in the middle where customers can sit up, but we cleared everything out and just gutted the whole thing and started from scratch. So
what do you like most about the way you laid it out?
So we wanted to lay it out we wanted to focus on, gold and white colors with a little red accent, because our old location, we were very dark. We were dark blue, mahogany, and this restaurant, I wanted it to be very vibrant. When I built it, I wanted to be very open and very vibrant, kind of like you're, in a restaurant in Miami. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted.
It's very much like that. It's kind of the place when you walk in the door, you think, oh, this is great. You want to take pictures, And in this day and age, that's what you want people to do. As a matter of fact, you have a fun little selfie station up front.
Yeah, the photo booth up there is really great. Customers love it. They take pictures before and after dinner or when they're waiting. And We actually use it for large parties too. You know, we'll push it in the banquet room and then they can use it. But yeah, people love it. You take a picture and then you put your phone number in and it'll send you the picture to your phone. So
I've got several on my phone. Love it. Good. Love it. It's a lot of fun. So let's get back to the food again. What is your favorite thing on the menu?
Man, till this day, I think my favorite thing is still the ribeye, the Mongolian glazed ribeye. That thing is it's flavor. We use a hoisin barbecue sauce that we glaze the steak with, and we grill it, so we kind of char it on there a little bit. Served with bacon, bacon cheddar mashed potatoes, and then some XO style green beans that we flash fry and wok fry. So it's pretty good. Yeah.
I know people who love sushi love to come here, and people who love seafood. But I don't know that people realize the amount of steaks and such that you have on your menu. I mean, there's some, for lack of a better word, man food in here.
Yeah, we do probably 60% in the kitchen and probably 40% on sushi. So the kitchen sells, our entrees sell more than our sushi, that's what I wanted. I wanted customers to have sushi as an appetizer and then, go into a sea bass or go into a, fillet or a ribeye,
And you mentioned the ahi tuna. Mm-hmm. We shared a poke bowl the other night when my friends were here, and it was huge, this appetizer. I could make a meal of that easy and probably have some left over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the poke is a very, Hawaiian, Japanese island dish. We had it on our menu 20 years ago when we opened, and that was the first time Springfield was introduced to ahi poke. Like, we were the first restaurant to bring ahi poke in. There was no poke around. This was 20 years ago. Like, people were like, wow, what is this? You know what I mean? You either had to travel to get it or to a bigger city, or you got it at Ocean Zen, and we still have it to this day. We changed it up a little bit. I think the one you had, we served with some yuzu guacamole on the bottom, and then fresh ahi tuna, and then fresh fried tortilla chips to dip. So
it was delicious. What else are you proud of? I mean, I know you're proud of everything on your menu, but what are some of the items that you really you might have? Yeah, I don't know. Should we add this or not? And it's a big hit. Like, what do you like?
We have various different items that I think are really hits. We have our crab wontons, or blue crab and cream cheese stuffed wontons is a big hit, and that's something that I developed when I was young. I was making crab rangoon at my parents' restaurant, and then I was like, when I developed it, I was like, man, how can I make it better? And I started putting real blue crab in there. And then, just developed my own recipe and fused it with nice sauces. Like, we do a sweet Thai chili and a beurre blanc with it, with some Lingham's chili sauce, and it's just big hit.
That's your best-selling appetizer?
Probably one of the best. Yes. We just started one recently. It's tempura. It's jumbo tempura shrimp with a wasabi cocktail sauce. That's actually starting to be pretty popular. So people like that. I'm sure people like it. We had a hard time choosing, and we ended up not getting the wontons, and now I feel like I'm going to have to get back in here and do the wontons. And I'll be honest, I don't know that I've had that Mongolian. Did you say ribeye? Yeah, the Mongolian ribeye is really, really good. Yeah, one of our guest favorites.
So I don't talk about this very often, but I tested positive for alpha-gal, so I'm not supposed to eat red meat. So I've been not quite a year as of right now, avoiding red meat, but I never had any symptoms. I'm very lucky, but I will have a bite of that.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to say I would die for that ribeye, and I'm not I am not minimizing. If people have alpha-gal really, really bad, it's terrible. I'm quite lucky that I don't have symptoms, but I'm hoping I can go back and get tested again, and maybe it'll all be over with, but I would have a bite or two if I had the opportunity. So
we have plenty of fish here if you have alpha-gal. So
I know, which is why I had the sea bass again, because I just love it. How do you go about choosing daily specials?
So what I do is I run a weekly feature now. So everyone that comes in throughout the week can get it. So we'll run like weekly lunch specials, and then we'll run weekly dinner features. So so everyone can get to it. Like, we won't change it every day because, not everyone eats here every day. So if you see something on social media that we post on a Monday night, you'll be able to get it on a Friday night.
Okay, that's good to know, because every now and again you will see something that you post about and you think, doggone it, I missed it.
Yeah.
Will you make things for people if you have things available?
Yeah, we make things for people all the time. When they request it, they'll call up here and they'll be like, hey, can I have this dish that was, created last week? And we'll do our best to put it together,
I'm sure you will. I was looking through your Facebook posts and Instagram, and I found a dish, and I think I talked to the waitress that night, Grace. She was fantastic, by the way. Shout out to Grace. And I was toying with having somebody back in the kitchen make that, but I ended up with the sea bass just because it was so good. How I think we've talked about this a little bit, but your menu likely always evolves. Do you change it seasonally?
Yeah, we try and change it, twice a year. But, you have to have the original hits on there, or else people will throw a riot. Like, one of our top selling dishes is the macadamia nut chicken, and it is just, if you take it off, I think people will just burn your building down.
They aren't having it. No, they're not having it. Yeah. They don't want that. So you've talked about your favorite dish here, and I love to ask this of people like you. Where do you like to eat when you're not here?
I eat everywhere. I like to go to, I go to Flame, I go to Char. I like Mike's restaurants. They're good.
Mike Jalili. Yeah, you've heard him on the podcast. He did a great job. Yeah. For
sure. I go to, I also eat a lot of like Asian food too with my family. Sometimes we'll go to Corner 21, or we'll go to like Golden Korea for Korean food, or Bowie, stuff like that. So.
Well, when I talked with Sean Kraft at Nona's, Sean is I know he's a good friend. He's a huge fan of yours. He said, Joy, have you had Johnson Tan on yet? I said, no, but of course he's on my list to have on. So I'm sure you show up at Nona's. I mean, who doesn't want a little dose of Sean Kraft every now and again? Sean
has done great with Nona's, he's the only one I know that's bringing authentic Italian food to Springfield. Like he's very, very rich on doing things, like different pastas from Italy and different sauces and stuff. It's good. He has good stuff.
He spends a lot of time over there, so it's very authentic.
Probably over there 6 months out of the year, But yeah.
Have you ever traveled over there with him?
No, actually, I was wanting to soon, but I just got to find the time. So.
Do you go to Taiwan?
No, I haven't been to Taiwan. I've never been there. But my wife is from Shanghai, and I've been there a couple times. We're actually going in May, late May. We're going to go down to Shanghai, and then we're going to go down to Tokyo. So it's going to be a good trip. So. Okay, so when you take trips like that, do you make it a point to go? I'm sure you do. You make it a point to go eat, check out the latest and greatest? Oh, yeah. We've already picked the restaurants we want to eat at in Tokyo and stuff like that. So. Okay, so that's what I'm kind of like that. It depends on where I'm going. I'm going to be going to Chicago to the National Restaurant Show again, and I'm already trying to figure out where I want to eat. You got any suggestions? That's in May too, right? Yes. Yeah, you should go. So when I go to Chicago, I usually go to Chinatown on Cermak, the street Cermak, kind of by the train station. There's a roast duck restaurant that I go to. It's called King Barbecue, and they have the best Cantonese style roast duck you'll have in Chicago. Like it's the best. Yeah. Well, put that on my list. By the way, our youngest daughter was with me when my friends came to town, and she is currently in culinary school over at OTC. And she came home. She has her own place, but she came to our house and she said, "Mom, I've got some duck for you." And it was a tea smoked
duck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So tea smoked duck is a very authentic Chinese dish. I remember when I was young, my dad used to make it all the time at the restaurant. And what you do is you take rice and tea leaves, and then you put it on the bottom of the wok, and then you put a steamer over the top, and you just slightly burn the leaves with the rice, and then the smoke comes up, and that's what flavors the duck. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting dish.
I'm glad you explained that to me because I never had her explain it, but it was just absolutely delicious.
Very good.
And I thought, she's learning to make this right over there, right off Chestnut Expressway at OTC. That's amazing.
Tea smoked duck is, It's a very authentic dish, and I don't think anyone else serves that in Springfield anymore. I haven't seen that. Sometimes we'll make it, at the house or whatever, but I don't see that in Springfield anymore. Like it's a very, very, very traditional technique.
What's the best food city in your opinion?
Best food city, huh? I don't know. I like traveling to bigger cities. My favorite food is dim sum. So Las Vegas is one of my favorites. We go there, we get some dim sum. We were in Memphis a couple weeks ago, and we came upon a really good dim sum restaurant. It was called Dim Sum King. In
Memphis, Tennessee. Yeah. Go figure. Describe dim sum for people who aren't familiar.
So dim sum is like little appetizers. They come out in carts. So traditionally they came out in carts, but a lot of restaurants stop the carts. But I always like going to the restaurants that have the carts because it's the most traditional and authentic. So they come out with little appetizers, like steamed buns with barbecue pork, shumai, shrimp dumplings, stuff like that. It's awesome. And usually the really good ones will have live seafood tanks too that you can order, live seafood. So the one I go to in Vegas all the time, it's called Hong Kong dim sum, I think, and it is probably the best. I mean, there's live Santa Barbara prawns, there's live lobsters, there's live king crab. You can just order it and they'll ask you how you want it cooked, and they cook it for you. And I think that's just the best,
I don't know that I'll ever travel again that I won't text you and say, where do I eat? When I'm here, I love this Chinatown, Chicago, because, we've taken the train into town. We could pretty much stop off there and try some of that, the duck.
Chicago's got good, pretty decent Chinese restaurants if you're looking for, just authentic food, if you want to do something fancier, you can go to the nicer Michelin restaurants they have down there, and they also have good steakhouses down there, stuff like that. So, yeah.
I'm tempted to try Alinea. Have you been to Alinea?
No.
I have a friend that has been, but boy, you empty the bank account to go to that one. But I'm really intrigued by Grant Anchatz, the chef there, and his story. Mm-hmm.
So it's a funny story. We were in Chicago years ago when he first opened, and we had reservations to go there on a Saturday night. It was me and my wife, but my family, my mom, dad, and a couple friends were there too. We were traveling together, and we had made reservations for, I think, 2 months in advance, and my mom and dad texted me that afternoon and was like, hey, we're going to this Chinese restaurant in Chinatown, and they have, live seafood. They have whatever you can order. And I'm just like, do I want to go to Alinea or do I want the authentic Chinese food? And I was like, man, I kind of want the authentic Chinese food. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. These Michelin star restaurants, they're great. They're fancy. They're big, But what I like is value for, you know what I mean? So when you go to, now, the Chinatown restaurant, if you go to a really good one that serves live seafood, it's going to cost you a lot of money. Like, it's not, Michelin star restaurants, probably $300 to $500. Chinese restaurants, the same. If you get a whole king crab, it's $500 for one whole king crab, So that's the kind of the cuisine I like. I like the whole roasted duck. I like the whole lobster that's stir fried, just stuff like that,
Well, Alinea strikes me as a real experience. Mm-hmm. They say it's just very much like art and an experience and expect the unexpected and that sort of thing. And it just intrigues the heck out of me. And one of these days, I'm just going to bite the bullet and go.
Yeah, just go and try it out. I've been to a couple of Michelin restaurants that were pretty good. Like if you're up for that kind of dining. You know what I mean? I tend to nowadays. I tend to like more authentic food, like more like if I was to go get Italian, I want traditional Italian food, or if I want Chinese food, I want traditional Chinese or Korean barbecue or whatever.
Surely you'll do a good Chicago pizza, though, won't you?
Oh yeah, for sure. We do that, and then we do the Chicago dogs when we're down there. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you got me thinking. Maybe I should go to Chicago in May.
Listen, I do not ever, I really don't want to miss the National Restaurant Show. It's so much fun. The problem is, if there is a problem, is that typically you're not terribly hungry by the time you get out of the show because you've eaten food all day long, this kind of food and that kind of food. But you've been to the show before. Do you enjoy it? Yeah,
actually, I went with 1 year with Sean and my brother and a couple other guys. We were down there for I think like 4 days. It was a blast. Like we went everywhere. We ate everywhere. I mean, almost food coma. Mm-hmm. Like almost food coma. Like that's how much food we ate.
It is almost like that. It is almost like that. But my daughter and I have been sort of talking about where do we want to go, and we usually got a little stop at Lou Malnati's for some good pizza. But talk about needing to be hungry. Yeah. If you're really not that hungry, that's a tough order because you just want to go to town on that pizza. Yeah. What are your hobbies?
My hobbies? Yeah. Well, I enjoy cooking. Like when I'm at home, I just find new ideas and just go to town. I picked up on golf. I started playing golf about 3-4 years ago, and it's been good. It's been pretty good. But my hobbies, when I'm at home, I just, I like to cook different various foods, try it out. So
it shows. It shows. What do you love about the restaurant business? Do you like I think it could be really a lot of hustle, bustle, stress. Yeah. Do you feed on that?
Yeah, when it's busy, it's really busy. When it's slow, it's slow. So back and forth, you definitely will miss it if you don't do it. You know what I mean? If you're not in the industry anymore, it'll change your life. But I like the hustle and bustle. I like to feed people. I like to see the restaurant really busy. So that's what I like.
Do you watch that show, The Bear?
I've seen one episode of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I think that old school mentality of the, chefs in the kitchen yelling and stuff like that, I don't think it works anymore. I mean, that's what we came up with, when we were growing up. But nowadays, it's a little different with the younger generation.
I'm glad to hear that, honestly, because it's intense. I've watched a few episodes, and it's interesting to watch, but it's intense, and it's not for everybody. Do you have like a food philosophy?
Just use good ingredients. If you want to serve someone, food, you just got to make sure the ingredients are good, and you're not, cheating anyone or giving them crap. You know what I mean? You got to give them good quality ingredients. So
presentation is important to you.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell by the plates that come out of your kitchen. That's got to be a really kind of the fun part, though, don't you think?
Plating the food is definitely, you got to feed your eyes before you feed your stomach. People, when they look at it, they want, I'm always big on colors, big on presentation, stacking, different textures. So, when you eat the dish, you have different textures, not all one texture,
Has Roy Yamaguchi ever been here?
No, he's never been here. He's way too busy. He's a big time chef.
Roy, you're the standing invitation to come to Springfield, and so you'll be really, really proud, really proud. What are there chefs out there that you watch and admire? Other chefs that you?
Oh, yeah, when I was coming up, I loved, all the, the Asian, French fusion chefs, Alan Wong from Hawaii, Nobu, just Ming Tsai, those guys were like, they're like superstars to me when I was coming up, So,
what was your experience at Nobu? Where was that?
So I worked at Nobu in Las Vegas. I was an intern there, and it just showed me a lot about Japanese and Peruvian cuisine, and it was pretty intense. when I worked there. So
When was it you were there? I've been there once. It was many years ago.
it must have been, 2000? Around 2000, I did my internship there after culinary. So, no, probably 2001, around there. So
What was that like in Vegas? That had to be a whole different kettle of fish, I would think, because you've got huge crowds, because it's a very popular place, celebrities.
it was good because at the time I wasn't even 21 yet. So so that was good, I wasn't playing around, wasn't, just work. We were there for work. But, every job is a different, you go there to learn something, you know what I mean? You have to learn what you want to learn out of the restaurant, and that's what I did. I went there to learn, some stuff and just moved on after that, so.
Is it a challenge to work in the restaurant business in Vegas? I would think it would be fascinating, but like just a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. You're feeding a lot of people, and the hours are long. We would work from 1 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the morning. But, it's always a hustle and bustle out there. So,
Do you ever wish you were in a bigger city, or do you love it here? Please don't leave.
No, I love it in Springfield. Springfield's a good place to live, and Springfield's got great restaurants. All my restaurant friends, their restaurants are great. All of them, Nicola's, Metropolitan Grill, Char, Flame, Nona's, they're all great restaurants,
I like the way the chefs, restaurateurs in this area support each other.
Yeah.
You guys really do seem to, and when there's some kind of a Taste of the Ozarks type of event, you see chefs and restaurants of all different kinds coming together, and I like that. You must enjoy the camaraderie. Yeah,
like one of my great friends is Tony from Avanzari's. I love his restaurant. He's got that new location. It's gorgeous, and he does really good food there too. So
I got to get him on the podcast, and I want to get Chewy on too, because Chewy just opened his own place. His brother.
Yeah, Chewy just opened his own place too. I think it's on Republic Road, so he should be doing well too. So
eager to get in there. Haven't been yet. What will you not eat? What do you not like? Is there anything you don't like?
There's one thing I won't eat. It's durian fruit. But
describe that. I've heard of it, but I can't place it.
So they call it the king of fruit, but my wife and daughter love it. Anytime they can get fresh durian, they're so happy. But it's got a strong smell. So it's from Southeast Asia, and they grow probably the size of a watermelon, and they're kind of spiky. But when you cut into it, it looks like the flesh is almost like a rotten banana, but yellow colored. But it's actually, you smell it. It's got a strong odor, but it smells like, it smells like rotten onions and sweet, right? It smells sweet and rotten onions, right? And you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I can't eat this. But then when you eat it, it's actually not bad. Like, I've tried it before, but I don't like it. How
do they eat it? Do they put it in a different dish, or do they just eat it by itself?
Well, you can eat it just by itself, and then a lot of chefs now, they're, in Asia, they bake with it. Like, they make, breads with it and desserts, so pretty good. Yeah.
Are you a sweet snacker or a salty snacker?
Man, I'm a both snacker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like sweet, and then I like salty, too, so.
I'm a salty girl.
Oh.
I love sweet, don't get me wrong. I love a good bite of dessert, but a little bite typically will do me. Now, don't get me wrong. I can polish off a big old piece of pie or a big Andes or something like that. Oh, Andes. You like that? You like Andes? What's your favorite?
It's our favorite. I usually get the straw Anna when I'm there. Yeah. And then my wife likes the hot fudge sundae with pecans.
The pecans are magical.
Oh, yeah. And then my daughter usually gets the, cookie Casanova, I think?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so.
I had Carol Kuntz on the podcast, and that was a super fun little jaunt down, memory lane to hear how Andy's came about. What a great spot. Andy wasn't on it, but he was too busy. He's got too much going on, and he's a great guy. But his mom is a hoot. I love Carol. What's coming up new for Ocean Zen? Is there anything new? You got your beautiful patio, but you've got some brand new furniture out there. But what's coming up new? Anything new on the menu? Anything you're planning?
Yeah, we're going to work on a spring-summer menu soon. Probably a summer menu. Just try and do some lighter fare, not so heavy, but we're in the process of that right now, so should be done soon.
Well, things are always changing and evolving, and we touched on sweets. Do you do your own desserts here?
Yeah, we have different desserts we do here. We do a bananas Foster's is our number one. We do a tableside, so we flambe in front of you with the bananas, and we make a house caramel sauce, and then candied pecans. It's definitely a treat.
Okay, let's just stop the dessert conversation there because you had me at Bananas Foster. How did I not have that the other night? I'll tell you how, because I was too full.
Oh, man.
I was too full, but I love everything you do here at Ocean Zen. It's great stuff. It's a beautiful place, and it does make you feel special to be here, because when my friend said she wanted somewhere with fusion and a beautiful environment, we got it here. So I can't thank you enough for talking to me today on Savor the Ozarks. Johnson Tan, keep up the great work.
Thank you. And then anytime you guys come in, need anything special, my younger brother, he's the general manager here, Justin. So he's the third brother that's joined us. And, he takes care of the restaurant for us and pretty much the staff. And that's how you get the great service. If you need anything, you ask for Justin, or if I'm here, you can ask for me,
It's all in the family. And Roy Yamaguchi, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are, come on to Springfield.
Yeah, come try me out.
Johnson Tan, thank you.
Thank you.
Be sure to go to AroundTheOzarks.com to sign up for our daily newsletter, where you can get every episode of Savor the Ozarks, plus all our other podcasts, events, and contests straight to your inbox. And what are your favorite dishes in the 417? You have any restaurants you'd like me to visit? Email me at joy@AroundTheOzarks.com.